Right, so I've just beaten this floor with my wonderful Kokomi, so let's see what kind of buffs we're going to get for our entire team. Let's see, come on cards. Oh, everyone getting an extra constellation. That sounds really, really good, but as a Kokomi main, attack speed is really more my thing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end game that we really needed in Genshin Impact, and you might be totally confused as to what you're seeing on screen, so let me just quickly explain. This event, the Mystic Omnio Chamber event, was basically an event that ran in version 2.2 of Genshin, and it was really, really good. So the idea was that you have almost this like rogue-like dungeon, which you had to like explore, and there were quite a number of like stops where you had to fight enemies, you could gain health, you could draw some random buffs, you could choose the difficulty level. It was such a good event, and I think what made it so much fun is that unlike the Spiral Abyss, which takes you 2 minutes to clear the whole floor 12, you actually could spend quite a bit of time here. There was a bit of strategy in terms of how you had to choose your buffs, and sometimes you could even get some interesting debuffs. So you might think you're choosing a bunch of buff cards, but then the game randomly makes it such that you get a curse, and some of these curses could include something like one of your characters not being able to be healed, or you receiving like 10% more damage, or you lose resistance, or all kinds of little interesting things. So with an environment where you had bubbles and fawns and a changing landscape and buffs and debuffs, this made for quite a bit of good content. So there was like a very good pace to this. So you could fight and then you could take a bit of a break, and you even had reserve units. So let's say you kind of lost one of your units, accidentally they died, and you didn't bring Barbara or Chi-Chi, you could then go to one of the little points on the map which was marked out, and you could then swap in a reserve unit. Or let's say you felt tired of playing the same old Rider National, well, you could easily go into one of your little checkpoints, swap out that ugly Bennett and Xiangling, and put in more sensible units for your team. So if you kind of got bored of them, you could swap them midway throughout your journey. And this is the key thing. You had lots of ways of giving you flexibility. You had buffs which could change how your characters were playing. They could do some crazy lunging attacks. There's all sorts of cool things about this event. You can see here on screen all the different ways in which you could interact, and that is what makes it fun. So why would this be a good in-game mode? Well, the first thing that I want to kind of address is the fact that even though this is a combat in-game mode, if you took this and TCG and the Spiral Abyss and you capped the overall number of Primo Gems you could get every 2 weeks to, let's say, 600, then you automatically have a system where different people could choose different end-game modes that they would like. Yes, you could still play all of them, but your Primo Gems would be capped. But if you're someone that doesn't like combat and you don't want to see any of the things that I show you here because it gives you excessive anxiety, well, you could go back to TCG. You can get your 200 Primo Gems by playing cards every 2 weeks. That'll be perfect for you, but for the rest of us, we would have something that we could enjoy, something which would help us, like, you know, make this entire Genshin Impact journey worth it. And that is actually just what I wanted to share today. I just want to sort of give you a bit of nostalgia bait, show you kind of the event as it was way back when. So obviously if you had to adapt this event, you would have more higher difficulty levels. Obviously you'd have to rework some of the layout and some of the things and so on, and you'd obviously have to balance it. But an event like this could serve as very useful end-game material in addition to the things that we currently have, provided you just tie all of them with a common like Primo Gem limit per 2 weeks. I think that would be the most sensible, fair way to do it, and would allow different people different ways of experiencing the content that they would like. Certainly an event like this could easily be supplemented by stuff, for instance, by giving like new functionalities to characters, or allowing this to be a good like almost live testing sort of server for new future abilities in the game. So before Nilo came out, we had the Hyakunin Iki event where you could actually test out a bountiful core. So this was prior to Nilo's release, and I think if they used this event as not just an in-game mode but as a testing bed where they give you specific buffs, or they change the abilities for certain characters temporarily, then I think you could have something that's much better than the current betas that we have in Genshin, where the testing is inadequate and you always have bugs on day one that come out. It's like, well, what are the beta players doing? Well, I know what they're doing. They're just leaking content and instead of actually testing what they should be testing. And I think that would be a good way to sort of play Genshin. And I've had this idea because I play Honkai Impact quite a lot and I love the Elysian Realm, and that's exactly what, or some of it like is what happens like in the Elysian Realm. You get a bunch of buffs and ways in which you could change how a character functions, and I just thought, well, if we extrapolate from that idea and that sort of dungeon effect and you put it into Genshin, well, you could have a pretty successful endgame mode that could not just keep us busy, but that can also serve multiple purposes, especially in terms of allowing more freedom with what you could do with characters and how you could extend their abilities without really kind of affecting the overall core value proposition of the game and the other characters and so on. In any case, enough rambling from my side. I just wanted to kind of put this out there that Hoyo can make good endgame events. They can make good content and combat events. We just need you guys to lift your voice and tell Hoyo this is what we want.